Hello there. Hello, Flavia, Georgina, Mari, Ingrid. It's great to have you here. Welcome to the room. Hi, Abiyu. Let's just wait a couple minutes so everyone is able to get in. Katyan, hi there. Just one more minute and we'll begin. All right, good afternoon, Bruna. So let's dive right in. Welcome everyone. My name is Alex Tamulis. I work as an academic manager and marketing manager for Macmillan Education Brazil. And it's a great pleasure to be here with you. Jurandir is here now. Welcome. And today we're going to chat about some topics that I really like to delve into. I think it's great for us to find these moments to explore. Hey, Jose Meidi. Oh, Jose from Benjamin, I know you. Yeah, great to have you here. It's always a pleasure to see you. Yeah, so these topics, that involve the classroom and our practices, the way that we deal with materials, the way we deal with all the situations that come into play when we're teaching. So it's great to have this opportunity, and I'm going to talk about this four principles mindset that you might be curious about. Like, what is this? What is he talking about? So let's dive right in. But before we start, I would like you to look at that image and tell me what you think that is. Just type in the chat. What's that image? Is it a tree? Does anybody know? I mean. Hi, Nayara. Any clues on that image? What is that? There's no right answer, okay? It's just a quick game, just for us to get in the mood. No idea so far? I think it takes a little, maybe a couple of seconds for the messages to pop. An old guy in the bush, okay, in like tree leaves or bushes, right? Cool, an old man. So yeah, the majority of people see an old man, uh, but there's something else. And the important exercise here is that once you see that something else, it's going to be impossible for you to unsee it. I want to show you that the brain works in terms of like learning and getting a new pattern. The brain works in mysterious ways because now you see the old man, but when I show you that there's something else, you're going to be like, oh, okay, now there's no way for me not to see that. So most people see an old man, but there's also a couple kissing. Can you see that? Try to, look from a different angle. I'm going to use the mouse here. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but just to give you an idea, the couple, if you look at the old man's nose, right above it, with the shadow of the man's eyes, that's the hair of the boy and the girl of the couple. It's a young couple, they're kissing. Somebody's just saying, oh, Dionysus. Yeah, Dionysus, sorry, the god, the Greek god of wine, of parties, right? Yeah, it's possible. But now that you see the kissing couple, it's like your brain learned that pattern of the kissing couple. So there's no way for you not to see that anymore. Hey, just give me 2 seconds because it started to ring. I have to close the window and I'll be back in 10 seconds. Sorry, that had never happened to me before, but it started to rain like big time, so it was just gonna flood my balcony here, my living room. I apologize. Anyhow, so this we have the old man and the kissing couple. One more for you. This is interesting. What about this one? What do you see? Thais is saying, I've seen images like that before, but that was a very good one also. This one is also interesting. Most people will see one image, and then I'll show you a second one, and then you're gonna be like, oh my God, really? So this one, most people, so that we get the ball going, most people see a young woman, right, looking towards her back, a woman. So you're saying, yeah. But if you look, there's also an old woman. If you let me try to give you a hint here. Um, if you look at the neck of the young lady, that's the chin of the old lady. Yeah, Bruna, she's seeing the old lady now. So if you look at the neck of the young lady, then you see the chin of the old lady, and then you're gonna see her nose, and then she's wearing like a scarf, or not a scarf actually, it's like a one of those, how do you call it? Like kind of like a hijab. And her hair, yeah. So you've seen the old lady as well. So that's the trick of this exercise, you know. It's the old lady with the headscarf or the young lady looking towards her back. So here it's just a matter of perspective, right? You see the inverted glass with lime and lemon there, right? And the inverted image will change things, so it will appear to you that you're looking at the lime, but you're looking at the lemon, and vice versa. And there, you have somebody saying 4 and somebody else is just saying 3. Oh yeah, thank you, Taste. Could be like a hood, right? Exactly. Like the hoodies, yeah. Perfect. So the exercise is just for us to see that it's all about perspective, right? It's everything, when we look at some things, these things will be different depending on how you look at them, depending on the angle that you're analyzing, depending on the take. So when we build models, we always have to make cuts. We always have to limit things. So it's impossible to be perfect exactly, because somebody else might look at the same thing and notice different patterns, okay? So the role of the teacher is to be like that, not to really look for the exact answer or the perfect situation, but to really be able to be a thinker and to welcome others to think along, to be together, so to spark, to give ideas, to engage. So I added some verbs there, it's all about, sparking up ideas, engaging students, be like the prime mover, so get the ball rolling. So let's start the party here, let's get the ideas flowing. Triggers, right? So we bring ideas that will be triggers for people to continue doing things, or revealing or opening up. So all these visual metaphors, all these images will help us to really understand the role of the teacher. It's mostly a role of a thinker who welcomes people to think along, to bring ideas, to really change. We're, mostly trying to be agents of change, okay? In this session, y'all, I really wanted to focus mostly on talking about like teachers as leaders, effective teaching. Obviously, we only have an hour, so I'm going to try to be succinct, to summarize some of the aspects that we're dealing with. And so the first question that I pose is, why is leadership important? Why, and if you think that leaders are born or bred? I mean, like I said, this is just an exercise. You can just type in the chat, really quick what you think, why leadership is important, and or why do we need leaders, or if leaders are born or bred. What do you think? Both. Okay. Yeah, that's a possibility, right? Again, it's similar to the situation with the old man and the kissing couple. we could think both ways. But basically, what's important about these questions is to think that we have a situation and we would like to change it. Not really change the situation because the situation is wrong, but it's just to adjust to maybe a newer format. So to reorganize. So I added some verbs. Yes, so Julian is saying, Thais is saying, mostly bread, in my opinion and experience. Exactly. I mean, because obviously we have to fine tune, right? We have to learn on the go. Julian, we can develop once we position ourselves as teachers, our niche. Yeah, exactly. So we can, it's kind of like, a sculptor, you're constantly trying to hone your craft, right? So I added some verbs there, reflecting, reorganizing, sorry, I was going to say re-imaging, but reimagining, bringing something new to the table. So that's what, for me as a teacher, I think it's never static. Classes are never static, even from one class, one lesson to another. It's always about this constant change. And when I have like private students, I say, hey, it was last week, so let's enjoy the moment right now. And because that way every experience can be special due to the circumstances. Okay. Uh, I'm just I'm just thinking, holy moly, what about my power outage, okay? Because it's raining like cats and dogs, I kid you not. So hopefully we won't have a power outage. Okay, let's keep going. So yeah, why am I calling it the Four Princes method or mindset? Uh, the reason is very simple. One of the reasons is because of human nature, because we are curious. So I wanted to spark your curiosity towards something that was different. Um, but basically, what I like to use to learn things and to help people be primed for learning is to use mnemonics, because mnemonics will encode the information and it will help store that information um, in our long-term memory. Okay, so mnemonics is basically a technique that I'm going to um, delve into right now. So, to give you a quick example of mnemonics, it's basically, remember your chemistry classes? I don't know if you remember them, but I'm going to give you an example here in Portuguese. For my chemistry class in grade 6, I had this sentence here, hoje vi a cama absurda, em francês. So that was my sentence there, and basically, this sentence was a mapping process for me to be able to remember these chemical elements, okay? Hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, calcium, and francium. Obviously, it's much harder for me to try to remember them without the context. So that's where mnemonics come into play. Not only mnemonics, but mnemonics and the story and visuals. So for everything that you need to learn or to internalize, if you use mnemonics and stories, chances are that you're going to retain that. So it's all about the retention of information, of data. And once you store it, it will be in your long-term memory for much longer. So I give you the story. I woke up, but prior to getting up and going, I read a book. It wasn't really any book per se. It was Robinson Crusoe. So I read it, but I read it in French. And it's not showing there for some reason with the slide, but I read it in French. So I told myself that story, that I was reading the book, that I was getting up in the morning. And that was much easier for me to memorize that family, because back then we had to memorize the periodic table. So we had to go like with the hydrogen, with the column here, column number 1, I had to know that it was hydrogen, lithium, and then the Na was sodium, because in Portuguese, that sentence makes total sense. So in order for me to memorize, it was much easier, and I memorized a sentence for every family because in that fashion, I was just telling myself stories. So what was I doing? I was turning abstract things, right, into visual triggers. So with the story, remembering like getting up in the morning, reading in French, picturing the book. So our brains, they can operate in visual ways, right? Before language, we are very visual. We look at things, we pay attention, we see danger, we see opportunity, we calculate the distances, right? So we're very visual. So we have to take advantage of that aspect of our brain because our brain uses images to link to concepts, to abstract concepts, all right? So let's give it a try. Let's try to better internalize information. So the four princes mindset is to give you this story, the story of the four princes. And what princes are there? Well, I had to come up with a story and I came up with these four princes. So we have those four there. Do you know who they are? They're famous princes, right? Let's give it a try. So the first one there. So this is my story and my strategy to come to terms or to try and internalize information through visual cues, through stories, through narrative. All right. So four princes. They stand for four principles. So I have a similarity. Principle. All right. So Prince Harry, he says, effective teaching involves acquiring relevant knowledge about students and using that knowledge to inform our course design and classroom teaching. So, yeah, so that's the information there. So I got Prince Harry who's telling me that. So now I have to break it down. So effective teaching involves three things. So I draw a triangle. Now I picture, okay, I have Prince Harry. He's telling me, he's showing me the triangle, and the triangle I have students' knowledge for one of the vertices. The other vertex, I have my vertex, I have my course design, and the other vertex, I have my instructional adaptations. So this exercise, y'all, is about breaking down information. So you start with the story, you start with a narrative, and then you start bringing it down. You use your strategies, the ones that work best for you, to come up with images and to take photographs. We say etch, right? To etch these images into your brain. So, and this takes time. You have to maybe come back to the other stage. So in this case, come back to what Prince Harry was telling you, then get back to the triangle part, and keep going. I mean, find the best way to work with the information. We can even expand the definitions of these ideas here, all right? So another one would be, for example, to use topics. So what is Prince Harry trying to show me about effective teaching with that triangle? Well, we have to check the course design, the syllabus, right? What are the objectives? How fast am I going to go? How fast am I going to present the topics? What are the examples? How are the exercises? Are they guided, controlled, free? What type of practice, right? What about the other one? Student difficulty. So how many students do I have? How do I identify misconceptions, right? And guide instructional adaptations, right? So we have to really be able to recognize and evaluate, hypothesize, observe, document. Okay, so these are three different ways to do the same thing. Just telling a story, bringing that narrative and breaking it down, coming up with various ideas to map A to B using images, using stories, okay? So this is one of the princes, right? I had four princes. So the first principle is this one here with the triangle. The second principle comes from Prince William. Prince William is giving me the three major components of instruction. So he's saying learning objectives, assessments, and activities. Okay, learning objectives, assessments, and activities. again, I place my information, the most important information, on my triangle, right? And then I break it down, I expand, I keep going. Obviously, I'm doing this fast-paced because we only have 1 hour to do that. Technically, in real life, I would take a long time to do these things in the classroom, okay? Or for me as a learner, or for me as a teacher, it doesn't matter. The process is the same because the brain is the same for everyone in a way. I mean, with using visual cues or writing down information, obviously we have preferences. Someone might prefer highlighting, the other person has to write it down, the other person has to record their voice, like a podcast. Whatever is your way, doesn't matter, whatever floats your boat, as long as you revisit, as long as you recycle, as long as you're doing this process of observing, hypothesizing, analyzing, documenting, right? So it's this cycle of really being in touch, getting in touch with the information that's going to help you retain it, okay? So in this case, I'm getting each part that I was obviously summarizing, so learning objectives, the first one, and then breaking it down. So it'd be like knowledge and skills. Okay, so now I got it. Learning objective, I'm talking about knowledge and skills. What about the other one, assessment? I'm talking about tests, I'm talking about problems, I'm talking about performances. For example, let's say anything can be an assessment, formative assessment, right? An interview with a student, they record a podcast. Exactly, that's right, Judy. You're a researcher. You are investigating. You are coming up with ideas, looking for patterns. Basically, what you're doing with the images there, you're looking from certain angles, right? So from this angle, it's knowledge and skills. From the assessment angle, then it could be a formal test where I'm going to teach to the test, or it could be an informal or formative assessment where I use various pieces, various sources for my evidence. And all of them are going to give me information, data, in order for me to better cater to my students' needs, and also for me to reevaluate, change. Remember the word change, we're agents of change. Okay, so I'm just giving you ideas. Another idea could be to give you this visual model here, knowledge and skills, classroom activities, tests, interviews, podcasts, videos, and so on and so forth. How am I going to know which one is the best? I don't have that answer because it's always learning by doing. I'm going to try a strategy. It's not going to work very well. Let me try another one. So I might try to record stuff, and then I might listen to it and say, I don't like it. Or other people might go, oh, I actually go out for a drive and I listen to my podcasts, and I love that. I love that way of studying. So it's whatever really works best for you. But you have to give it a try, and you have to learn by doing. No one really is able to change their brain if not by having an experiential moment. So there's no way for me to help you with the old man and the kissing couple unless you're exposed to it, unless you make mistakes or you feel lost. And it's challenging. It has to be somewhat challenging, like Uncle Vygotsky used to say, It has to be somewhat challenging where with some supervision, you're able to do it. It's the zone of proximal development, right? So, same with mathematics, same with biology, same with physics. You should be able to gradually go up, gradually try to climb the mountain, climb up the mountain, okay? Very good. So, Roberto Girangier, thank you. Let's keep going. If you don't do this mapping process, that's my claim. I mean, at least when I learn things, if I don't map them out, what is this mapping process? Is linking things. So I link, if I'm learning math, I link this concept, for example, interest, right? The mathematical concept of interest. I link to a story, for example, of maybe coins, and then coins or a triangle where I have 1 coin and then 2 coins and then 4 coins and then 8 coins, and then I try to picture that. So it's the way that I, let's say, make sense of the world, okay? It doesn't have to be like that, but it's just, you gotta give it a try. If you don't do the mapping process, it's very unlikely that you're gonna be able to change your brain from status A to status B. So from going from old man to kissing couple, going from young lady looking to her back to old lady looking down, your brain literally changes the status. It reorganizes the synapses, right? Through the synapses, it reorganizes how your neurons are connected or how your network is working. All right? Very good. So let's keep going. We have 2 more princes, right? So Prince Harry, Prince William, now we got Prince. And again, what are these 4 princes? They are the ones that I wanted to bring to the story. You could have come up with other princes. You could have come up with princesses. You could have come up with Lion King. It doesn't have to be a prince. It's just that the word prince reminded me of principle, and then I came up with the story. And so that's how I operate in the world. I'm always trying to come up with stories and ideas that will help me. And I've learned languages through that process. I speak a couple of languages, and I've always done that. It's always about mapping. It's always about linking to images, linking to situations. And then Prince here, the singer, what's his principle? Did you see what I did there? Sorry, I know it's silly, but it's fun to look for these puns. And what's his principle? Effective teaching involves prioritizing the knowledge and skills we choose to focus on. So in this case, we already have knowledge and skills from Prince William, but then now we gotta really do what? We gotta choose, we gotta pick our battles. So we know that it's impossible to do too much. So coverage is the enemy. How much am I gonna cover, right? Too many topics, they will work against my student learning. So we gotta make decisions. We gotta do what? We gotta prioritize. So this is valid for any context. We gotta really set up our priorities, set our goals, and be okay with that. We gotta live with the fact that we're not gonna be able to see it all. It's like, the director of a movie, when you decide to place a camera, even with cameras, there's no way to look at the whole picture. A camera, when the director decides the angle, and it's that's what you have. There's no way to go like 360 degrees because it's about the perspective. Okay? It's the same for teaching. So pick your battles, choose your goals, and it's okay to leave things out. Exactly. Kant is mentioning mind maps. Those are great because you have the situation where you are coming up with a network. It's kind of like, Ferdinand de Saussure, with the structural. It's, he saw language as a structure, and the structure only exists by the contrasts of the pieces. So nothing can be defined on its own. You have to have the whole structure to really be able to work with the network. So the network only exists by juxtaposition. So I only know what's light because I know what dark is, but there's no way for me to know what dark is if I don't really contrast it with light. So mind maps will be the context. So for example, if we're talking about culinary studies, right? If we're talking about food, you can create a mind map that's within that context. There will be a network that will link flour to dough, to bread, to bowl, to water, olive oil, and you keep going and you keep expanding. How about coming up with a story? How about bringing the narrative bringing the images and using mnemonics, maybe some sentences, maybe some numbers to link these vocabulary items. That's my premise here. My premise is to use these as tools for you to retain knowledge long term. And now our friend Le Petit Prince. Okay, the last prince. I had to pick 4 princes, right? I got 2 from the UK, I got 1 from the US, and I got a fictional one, Le Petit Prince. So what's his principle? Well, be the guide on the side. It even rhymes, eh? So that's straight up, right off the bat. So what does Little Prince mean here? Well, it means that it depends on the context, obviously, but he's giving you the context. If the objective is for students to be able to analyze a case, so what is the role of the teacher here? Well, it could be to be the moderator for the discussion, right? So to be there in the middle, just being the guide, just monitoring, because obviously they're analyzing arguments. What if they make mistakes? Well, you're monitoring. You can maybe write them down for a future feedback moment. But that moment is for them to work with the argument, to work with the flow, right? A second situation here would be to help students learn to defend their positions. So if you have a debate and then student A believes that this is the way to go, for example, let's say in order to come up with a project for the school, let's say the water. Right now, for example, the water fountain, the water is not cool enough. How can we come up with ideas to make it cooler? Student A goes through this route, student B through the other route. Okay, somebody is just saying, okay, G. Let me just quickly check it. Difficult for very systematic people. In the beginning, I used to go page by page with students, and that's not good. It's important to set up goals and select what is relevant. Exactly, because obviously, I work for a publisher, and we do have a syllabus. We have a course that's designed for this ideal prototypical student, but we don't really know exactly that student, right? So obviously, it's well set for a universe of people, but it's going to have to be honed and catered and fine-tuned and crafted and all of the verbs that you can picture here in order for it to work with that student. And that's the role of the teacher. It's to really use the let's say, rough or raw material and come up with the final version. So that's exactly what Juvenji is saying. Okay, somebody else is coming. Osejas, I don't know if it's Osejas, but Sejas, hello. Hello there to you. Thank you for being here. We are discussing 4 principles of effective teaching because we're dealing with, like I said, knowledge and skills, with types of assessment. But first and foremost, we are the thinkers, we are the mentors, we are the guides. And by being that, we are optimizing the setting, right? Depending on the context. Certain contexts will require a more formal attack, a more formal situation. Other contexts, a more relaxed environment. That's why it's so hard sometimes with situations like these. I don't really know the context, but we can try and picture some of them in order for the action to really happen everywhere. Okay? Very good, y'all. I like that you're contributing. I like that you're giving me ideas. So it's kind of like ping pong. Another visual metaphor that I like to work with is the lather, rinse, repeat. Okay? Like I said, we're humans. It's not going to happen overnight. We're going to have to be exposed to that situation, change how we process, and reassess, reevaluate, do it again. So the lather, rinse, and repeat mindset is this. So when you have your shampoo, you lather your hair, and then you just rinse it, and then you repeat again, right? Do it again. You have to learn how to operate in the world with that strategy, because the only way to internalize information, again, is to live experientially, is to have opportunities to gauge them, do it again. And I'm sometimes with certain topics at school, we don't have that opportunity. And a lot of times there's not enough opportunities for people to really internalize the concepts. And then they end up thinking that they're not primed, they're not prone to learning that thing. And it's not true. It's just maybe the perspective wasn't right. Maybe they needed different pacing, different activities within the pillars that I'm showing you here. So, with knowledge and skills, it was the context and the way the course was designed and the instructional strategies that weren't really perfect for that setting. Okay? Very good. So, something else that's super important, just like working out, when you go to the gym, you're not going to change your body shape overnight. It's going to take a long time because your body has to be exposed to the situation. You have to sleep, your cells have to rest, and then off you go. So the brain does the same for learning. You got to sleep, you got to really do some cleaning here, some housekeeping, and then be exposed again to the same situation. So that's why check it again, wait a few days, come back to it. Oh, I'm not understanding it. Let's say you're working with a grammatical item that is super complex, or you're working with listening or pronunciation items, whatever it is. Okay, wait a few days, be exposed to it, accept failure, welcome the issues. Every now and then you have topics that you think, wow, this looks like it's impossible. It could be anything, like a philosophical concept. You're trying to read an author that writes in a very secretive, very labyrinthine way. And you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Wait a few days, just be exposed to it. Lather, rinse, repeat. Okay? Break down the info. How can we use different visual cues here? Can we change the metaphors? Can we break down the information in a way, organize it? Can we Lego this situation here? Can we come up with an alternative? Can we teach it to somebody? Can I try and talk to somebody about that? I bet you that this is going to change how you deal with that situation. And the students could do the same because it's just human nature, how we experience these things. Very good. So, again, 4 things that I find super duper important. I love to plan, to build trust, to take action, and to work with feedback. Out of these 4, building trust is probably the most important because you're working with social and emotional learning. We tend to spend time and worry a lot about the technical aspects. We think that people analyze and evaluate our knowledge by technical aspects. And most of the time, people are linked to the emotional aspects, to how passionate you are about that, how much love you put into the equation, how much you care, how much you're there to really listen to somebody or to empathize, right? So these things, usually they're taken for granted. A lot of times we just think, oh, I gotta really focus on that aspect of the lesson, the past perfect, or the inversions, or the grammar aspects, whatever. No, how much do you care? How much can you empathize? Can you try and put yourself in someone else's shoes? Can you reorganize ideas? Remember that a lot of times teachers have seen those concepts thousands of times, right? This happens with mathematics. I always like to give the example of math because most people are super scared of math and physics. And a lot of times the teacher's seen that concept 1,500 times, and then he's presenting for the first time to certain kids, maybe for the 3rd time. So try to picture, how was it? How was the situation when you saw it for the third time in your life? So you're talking about analytical geometry or equations, algebra. You're going to act differently. You're going to see things from a different perspective. So that's exactly what we have to do in terms of building trust. It's like, I'm here for you. I care about your situation. I care about the topics that you like. I care about how you learn. So you like to highlight things. You like to record with your cell phone, voice memos. You like to record the definitions. So I'm here for you. And you can give me feedback too. So we can go 360 here. Obviously, this is the trust part, but I already have a plan. And the plan we were talking about earlier, the plan has to be set. We have to cut certain things. We have to adjust. We have to understand that it's not possible to teach all of the things that we wanted to teach. And learning by doing. Mistakes from our part, mistakes from the student's part, that's okay. It's observation. It's whatever works in real life. It's like, design thinking. You can try something and do a prototype. It might work, it might not work. Go back to the drawing board, redesign, reorganize. And then it's time for us to reflect, to make changes whenever possible. So what went right? What went wrong? Okay. To just finish it up, I don't know if I was a little bit too fast with, sometimes the allotted time. It's hard for me to calculate. But for those of you, okay, so Vivienne is just saying that she was late. So for those of you who were late, let me just quickly sum things up. We're talking about 4 princes. What are these 4 princes? Basically, it was just a story that I came up in order for me to bring you principles of effective teaching. Instead of just being like very scholarly, oh my God, technical, I prefer to deal with emotions, with real life people. And real life situations chances are that you're going to retain the content if you're emotionally attached to the content. So now that you're thinking about real things with these real princes, as these real princes, Prince Harry, Prince William, Prince Singer, and Le Petit Prince, Little Prince. Now I give you real life examples, right? I give you a situation that is out there in the world. So I'm using information, drawing information towards the concept. So the mindset is just use narratives, use stories to map concepts that are very abstract. We're dealing with abstract stuff here. Language, when you talk about adverbs and the position of adverbs in articles and gender, all of these things, when they come into play, plus pronunciation, plus semantics, these are very abstract concepts. And how about trying to connect them to real life, to curiosity, to things that will engage people? And this is one of the ways to come up with stories. Another way would be to understand what's important to the student, let's say video games or comic books or movies, whatever that is. Can that be linked to my technical aspects? Can I use bridges to help people out? Okay, so this is the summary of my talk here as to how in my life I've had the experience of learning things through narratives, visual cues, mapping processes, and so on and so forth. Creative teaching, what is that? It's pretty much trying to bring ideas, right? It's welcoming ideas. A lot of times we stick to a plan, let's say, and the plan might not be working. Okay, what are new ideas that can work in this case? So welcome and embrace creativity. Let people be honest and open up about certain things, okay? Use digital tools. Why is that? Well, because society these days, we benefit from the aspects of the digital world. Right now, we're connected through the digital world, through the digital platform. we're able to discuss, to interact. So it's all about social collaboration using a different technology, right? So if you can embrace it, do so, because the generation now is super focused on learning through smartphones, through online platforms, through apps, through various new devices that will help and will be there for them when they need it. So use digital tools, audio, video, smartphones, whatever works with the context, Kahoot, you name it. Real world learning. Try to use texts, try to use stories that are from the real world. And you can grade the language, that's okay, but try to bring real life examples. People are going to be uh, drawn towards these examples. Let students bring in new ideas, right? It's all about what? Teamwork. It's all about letting people open up, shine, and be part of the game. Every now and then, if you're able to change the setting, that's also very handy. If you're able to go outside, or if you're not able to go outside, just changing the structure of the classroom, stations, dividing the classroom into stations, having those opportunities to ask people for different settings, what ways would they prefer for that activity, and going with the flow could really change things up a bit. And get people out of their get people out of their comfort zones. Do role play. So, for example, when they're debating a topic, somebody is pro, someone is against. What if we reverse roles? What if we go against that and you go pro that? So you can see things from a different perspective. So go towards the old man and go towards the kissing couple. Pretend that you can only see the old man, and then pretend that you can only see the kissing couple. How is life from a different angle? Role play will work for that. And also, because we're all, in a way, this is all like a theater play, right? Depending on the situation, I might have a different type of persona. I might have to adjust my behavior to, let's say a university, or a work situation, scenario, atmosphere, or a private life situation. And I use these personas, so I'm this multiple personality, in a way, identity. And with languages, that happens even more blatantly, because we have to use a different type of prosody sometimes, or sounds, combination of sounds. So role play will give us the opportunity for us to really learn by doing, for us to really have less fear of trying new things. Very good. Formal and informal. It's that time to really, act. It's time for us to perform. I love role play because it's all about the performance. It's learning by doing. Every time you're trying things, your brain is dealing and in contact, in touch with things from a different perspective, because now all of a sudden you got to really move. You got to use your neurons. You're not passively just receiving the information. Now you're producing. It's all about the production, right? Very good. And first and foremost, just have fun. I know that it's not possible to be happy all the time. I know that, obviously. But it's possible to try and enjoy even the opportunities when things go wrong, when things don't go the way that we really expected them to go. Let's say a trip, right? Planning a trip starts pouring down, no trip anymore. Okay, it's not a big deal, because I enjoy the situation nonetheless, right? I have a good time, and sometimes things don't go our way. Sometimes they do. The journey is really what is most important in this case. It's not really reaching point B. It's actually enjoying the ride. So that's what I'm saying. Do what you love, or do what you enjoy. Even if you don't love it, you enjoy being exposed to that situation. And if you picked the profession of being a teacher, you like to get people together and you like to listen to ideas, organize. You're kind of like a conductor in a way. You're like, okay, cello, time for you to play. Sometimes you tell the cellist what to play. Sometimes you say, Jen, time for you to solo time. I see that I have a bar here that you can just solo. Sometimes you're just watching and monitoring and just keeping track of time. The way that we picture ourselves as mentors and agents of change, usually it helps us to better cope with certain negative situations where there's lack of motivation or lack of cooperation, because you are doing your best and you are enjoying the ride regardless. You're trying to set up an environment that's conducive to learning. Okay. Basically, a word is inspiration, and it comes from the Greek, right? The Greek enthusiasm. The word enthusiasm literally means in God's breath, en theos asma, right? Enthusiasm in English, but you have enthusiasm in Portuguese, right? Most Latin languages will use this word because it's like you are with the asthma, with the breath of God, inspiration, whatever you can call it, your muse, your idea, your concept, your God. But just leaders, they will inspire. They will set up an opportunity, and people will be like, hey, you know what? This is triggering. This is sparking something in my head now. All of a sudden, I see things differently. Just because this person set up the tools, the puzzle, the situation in a way that was conspicuous, that was interesting, that was it caught my attention. Sorry. So allow others to contribute and lead by example. Try to inspire people. This is one of the great mantras of leadership. All right, so we're reaching the end of the presentation. Any questions? Again, thank you so much for the opportunity. Like I said, 1 hour is, it goes by super fast, but I tried to give you some elements in order for you to get the ball going. So remembering, visual cues, metaphors, being the agents of change, all about transformation, all about change, all about new possibilities. So I'm here if you have a couple more questions. We got 3 more minutes. I usually try to finish on time. So I don't know if anyone wanted to say, I see some of the messages here, like Elena. There's somebody with a Russian name there. I think it's Elena, maybe Seperna, maybe. And then Katya, thank you, Katya. Should indeed, thank you so much. Great insights there, buddy. Everybody who's contributed, who's commented in the chat box, I want to thank you. And it's always a great pleasure to be with teachers. And if you want to connect on Instagram or Macmillan Brazil Instagram there, you're more than welcome to do so. All right. So I think I'm going to wrap this up, and I think we're reaching the end, and I think you have to go to the new presentation. So Sini, thank you. Thank you for being here. It's great to spend time with you all. Bruna, appreciate it. My pleasure. And I'll see you next time. Abilio, thank you. All the best. And if you want to share, things in the future, just please do so on your Instagram, and we can even feature your scenarios, accounts, situations, videos on our Instagram page. Okay, so we like to do that because that we're creating this community of teachers. All right, thank you so much, guys. All the best there. Bye.